All right, so on the 13th, I was attempting to continue the weekly streams on various Dragon Ball characters, and I attempted to do Gohan, and it was so sad because the chat was writing beautiful comments. They were on topic and on point, like the stuff I was saying, and then it got ruined, got screwed over because part of the poison of the current situation is having individuals doing this back and forth. So we're gonna see if we can do this again, minus the ridiculousness that screwed it up last time. And I'm genuinely convinced there must be some kind of hex or curse when it comes to either this particular character or this topic, because I actually wanted to do it at 11 or 12, but I was still sleeping, and it was really weird too because I had tried to go to sleep earlier, and for whatever reason it didn't work, or I still ended up sleeping later. And part of that theoretically could be just the fact that yesterday I slept for about 5 hours, from 6 to maybe like 11:30. So that could be one of the reasons. In any event, we're gonna attempt this a second time and see if we can make it work. I hope Slumdigger we have a tendency to get interrupted for no damn reason. So one of the things I said previously was that one of my issues with American comics, besides the routine bad stories, is that they don't really change up the status quo ever. You'll have some character who stays the same age for 60 years, and basically nothing is any different from 60 years ago other than the art style and maybe a new villain every now and again. And it seems as if you have to really pull the teeth of the writers for either of the two major companies, Marvel or DC, to really get anything to be any different. So, for example, during the Clone Wars saga, if anyone is familiar with Spider Man lore, the heads at Marvel refused to give Spider Man grown children because they thought that would age him up too much. So, it appeared that they were open to the idea of him having children, but they didn't want them to be adults, even though it would kind of make sense because in the real world, at that point, he had been at that point a fictional character for over 30 years. So that's just an example of their refusal to let anything change ever. Again, aside from new villain, it was actually a point I was making to this person I was talking to that if you read any of the new Batman comics from the last maybe 10 years, you don't really see any of his regular well-known villains like Joker, Penguin, Mr. Freeze, because a lot of the writers for that particular character have these massive egos to where they basically think that if they just create some new character, they can one day have them be just as iconic as the villains that people know without even reading the comics, which is laughable. But that's just how people think. So I start this off by mentioning that because Dragon Ball was only around for 4 to 5 years before Z started and Gohan was introduced. So it's me simply saying that without the franchise even being 10 years old, Toriyama was willing to do something that was that dynamically different. I guess it maybe in hindsight isn't that big of a deal because we get time skips all the time in this series, except in Super for some weird reason. They only like to skip by a couple of months. Um, but that was really the first character we saw that was not that had some relation to the previous characters. And I even tried to make this point that there were people who were trying to say that Boruto was the DBZ of Naruto, and I was laughing because with Z, the only two regular characters they add to the main cast are Gohan and Vegeta. And then with Boruto, they just add a whole bunch of new characters that are just clones of their parents, and that's supposed to be some, it's not comparable in my opinion. So just conceptually, I like what Gohan did for the series, just in existing, moving the needle a little bit forward in terms of the showing a different aspect of Goku. Because if Gohan didn't exist, you wouldn't have any of those "Goku is a bad parent" memes that people love to put online over and over again. All right, so let's discuss the Saiyan saga. So I give his character credit for two things because at first he starts seemingly as a plot device just to make Piccolo have to team up with the good guys in the sense that him getting kidnapped by Raditz does that for the plot. But they actually try to give him a little bit of foreshadowing, which is something that the series really has refrained from doing. Um, Probably with any character that's not Goku at this point, where they show you that he's strong enough to land this really hard blow on Raditz, and it's kind of just left there, and it gets built on during the training period of the Saiyan arc. So even without you seeing the full extent of it, you're not going to see the full extent of it until the Cell arc. It still is this early seed planted for more to do. That's why when people say that Toriyama was trying to end the series at Frieza, I kind of scoff at the idea because I can't. It just wouldn't make sense knowing what we know about what happens in the Frieza arc for that level of foreshadowing to not actually pad out or be planned to be padded out or to actually come to fruition. But yeah, his character does a lot for Piccolo to the point where it's now hard for me to watch the last arc of Dragon Ball because I always have to think to myself, oh yeah, Piccolo's actually a villain. It's not going to last too long. I do like the scene where he cuts off his tail, and that's something I mentioned later on. I don't know, it's just the two of them interacting was really it was nice because we didn't up to that point really get a dynamic of a villain being friendly with a member of the regular cast, especially one who and I tried to make this point. Gohan was the perfect character to pair with Piccolo at that point in the story because he didn't know about any of the evil stuff or have the biases that the rest of the cast who was around for the last arc of Dragon Ball had. So he basically, referring to Piccolo, got a clean slate with that particular character. Because if he got paired with Krillin, he would remember. If he got paired with Yamcha, he'd remember Tien, any of the people who were there at that tournament. So during the fight against the Saiyans, he kind of is just left to sit there and be scared. And people will say that makes a character annoying, but because of what he does later on in the arc or in that fight, I'm not too disappointed. Obviously, there's the emotional scene where Piccolo training him was a really strong part of the show. Yeah, my favorite parts of the series usually are where they're just training because you get all these different character interactions that you usually don't get when they're fighting some major villain because some of them are dead or they're all just sitting there marveling at the villain's power. So it was a really unique period for the show. They actually do have this one filler episode where Gohan, I don't know if you remember, where he goes to his mother's house and she like almost notices him outside, but he runs away crying. And then there's another filler episode where he was helping out some stray kids or some homeless kids. That was pretty cool. But yeah, during the fight with the Cybermen, I like the scene where one of them survives when Krillin kills them all after one of them blows up Yamcha, and then it's like rushing toward Gohan and Piccolo grabs it and just blows it into pieces. It's probably the only I don't want to say the only cool, but when I think about it, I think that's the only villain Piccolo actually kills in all of Z. But they usually give all the kills to Vegeta, unfortunately. Well, and even then, that's mostly tied to the Frieza arc. Nah, that Cyberman was hiding in that crater. It would have probably got him too, because if it exploded on him, I don't know if he might have survived because he was stronger than Yamcha at that point, if I remember correctly. I think it was Vegeta was the strongest, then Goku was second, then Nappa was third, and then Piccolo was fourth, and then Gohan was fifth. And look, I do say that the Saiyans get ridiculous amounts of power boosts. Oh yeah, and I also can't think of Cybermen without remembering when Krillin destroyed all of them. He got mad and just blew all of them to pieces. Yeah, Megumi, I was hoping you would show up because I don't know what your time zone is. You might have been asleep. We'll get one or two interruptions when in the middle of this. I already see it coming. But no, I was talking about his role in the Saiyan arc to just to catch you up to speed. I was getting ready to discuss the part where, because I don't know if you noticed, but there's like a really large period where it's just Gohan, Krillin, Piccolo, Nappa, and Vegeta. Like all the humans besides Krillin are dead, and they just kind of have this space where it's the three of them fighting Nappa. So that was kind of a purposeful effort by Toriyama to sort of, like, I always use that to highlight that he gives those particular characters more to do than the rest of the cast. When people start talking about those are supporting characters, those are supporting characters, yeah, whatever. No, but so Piccolo gets his nice little sacrifice. Goku shows up. Um, I will admit when I read or rather when I saw the show for the first time, because I read the manga after the fact, um, I was really surprised when, because I was figuring they were going to have Goku just beat Vegeta and that would be the end of it. I was surprised when he was able to pull out the little ball and throw it up in the air and use that to become a great ape. And I was even more shocked that they let pretty much uh, outside of Gohan, the humans actually win that battle with Yajirobe chopping off the tail and Krillin hitting him with the spirit bomb. Which I always try to, and people tend to forget about this. When Krillin was introduced in the first series, he had a non-noble heart, which is why he couldn't ride the flying Nimbus. So him being able to hold the spirit bomb actually proves that he became, over the course of the series at that point, pure-hearted, because you can't hold that unless you have a pure heart. But again, people don't like to acknowledge that he's received more development than pretty much any character that's a human. Okay, I can't even pronounce your name anymore, Ruben. Yajirobe is a human and survived the Saiyans too, even though he showed up at the last minute. Yeah, Yajirobe pretty much after that gets nothing to do in the series. Nah, Megumi, they ignore those little subtle hints by the writer. Because I told you, Dragon Ball fans are the only people in the entire world that haven't seen all of their own series. Like with the Star Wars fans, they might hate the prequels or the sequels, but they've seen all of them. The only ones on the whole planet of any fandom. I remember this one guy. He had almost every issue of Amazing Spider. He loved that character so much. I don't know what the deal is with Dragon Ball fans, and the worst thing for them is that all their stuff is online for free, so they could be just as knowledgeable about it as me. I've even seen some comments where it's like, "How did you know this?" Like you can read it. All right, let me get over to the. All right, let me read Ruben's comment. Goku was not very pure-hearted by the start of Z. Oh, the real one from the Japanese, though. Well, again, I'm just going off of what they state the qualifications for the Spirit Bomb are. So that's just me saying what I've read in the series. Uh, I said before that the Frieza arc's probably out of Z the one that feels the most like a natural progression of the story, because it's established that they have to go to Namek to get the Dragon Balls to revive everyone. And they pretty much use, like, I would say for probably all of Namek up until the Ginyu Force, the main characters of that arc are Gohan, Krillin, and Vegeta, where you have Gohan and Krillin being these underpowered underdogs who have to like sneak around to do stuff, and then Vegeta's just rapidly taking out different members of Frieza's group, whether it's Zarbon or Dodoria, and then the Ginyu Force shows up, I remember. I think the only thing that really stands out for Gohan prior to Goku showing up is maybe the scene where he meets Vegeta and Vegeta just kicks him in the stomach for no reason, just just out of aggression for knowing his dad and whatnot, and he was still able to trick him anyway because he was able to get the Dragon Ball. Okay, Ruben says, as I told you before, Japanese media always prioritize their own audience first, even if their media is more popular with foreigners, and DBZ no longer has a big following over there. Yeah, it fell off. It's kind of funny. I remember they said that in the US, DBZ like replaced Pokemon after the second generation, and now it seems like it's the reverse in Japan. Like they flip things on its head, basically. No, this is what I was talking about when I said that for Z, the plot only is interesting whenever they take Goku out of the equation. So, like when he shows up and beats the Ginyu Force up, the only time it's ever actually there's any threat is when Ginyu swaps with him, and then he's like knocked out or very badly injured, and then it goes back to being threatening again when Frieza catches up to him. Isn't it sad when you got a story where the only time it's you can actually get excited about what might happen is when the quote unquote main character doesn't even show up. That's why I never understood when people try to act like he's such a important character in that series. Like he literally, if you cut out the Goku versus Frieza fight, that arc in the whole time he would have only been an active character for maybe like 10 episodes. Like Piccolo would have had a larger role if you cut out that fight. That's why it was funny. But yeah, they let Gohan fight the second form of Frieza, and I do like that they also still try to show the foreshadowing of him eventually getting this massive boost in power when he attacks him by himself. And they have a filler scene in the show, so it's not in the manga, but it's in the show where when Goku in his Super Saiyan form is fighting Frieza, he like gets lost or something, and then Frieza catches Gohan, and he's like trying to beat it. It's really stupid in the sense that it wouldn't make sense for him at that point in the series to have that much power, but it still is, kind of. I don't know. They put it. It's nice to see that, just I guess in hindsight, because you know that he'll eventually be that strong. But you still know it makes no sense because he hasn't had a Zenkai boost or anything. The majority of the cast gets slept on, and then the fans try to act like the show was all about this one character that when you watch it isn't even on the screen for the most part. Oh my god! Seriously, if Z was just the Saiyan and Frieza arc, not even both, Gohan, Krillin, and Vegeta would have all had more screen time than Goku, hands down, with no kind of exemptions or anything. They let him just hog all the limelight. What else can I say about the Frieza arc and Gohan's role in it? I think that's pretty much it. Oh, I do like that they let him react to when Piccolo gets shot by Final Form Frieza in the chest. Little nice moment to be focused on, and that they let him, kind of be the only one that gets to leave that fight and not be either dead or heavily injured. And I guess maybe that's because of the earlier injury he got from Raccoon. So it's kind of like everyone. I don't know. Frieza arc is just it lets all the characters, like all of the people on Earth side, feel vulnerable. Like you see every one of them just beaten up like crazy, and you really don't get that during probably any other arc of the series, except maybe the Saiyan arc. Because usually now at this point, they just kind of have everyone just sit around, and the like top people are the only ones you see get beat up. Should Dragon Ball get a remake now that Japan has taken Hollywood's lack of unnecessary remakes with Resident Evil remake and now Final Fantasy VII remake? I'm good. I don't need to see the same story except more rushed, and it's kind of like the same feeling I had when they said they were going to remake the Battle of Gods and Resurrection F movies into the first two arcs of Super. Why it's like, why would I want to see the same story except stretched out and uglier? Like what benefit do I have from and then they weren't even smart enough to actually give us anything new. Like I've got my problems with Toyotaro, the artist for the manga for Super, but but in his adaptation of the Battle of Gods arc, he actually did try to put Champa and Vados in there just to kind of like spice things up, give you something to be excited about when you're reading the same story. And it was a lot quicker. It was only 4 chapters, and then he just completely skipped over the Frieza arc. Nah, Megumi, you had no incentive to go watch that again, none whatsoever. All right, so one of the misconceptions people have about the Cell arc is that it's basically Gohan's arc. This is where he becomes the main character, and I always kind of roll my eyes when I see this written on some of the message boards because if you actually watch the damn show, you will notice that there are multiple characters who get more screen time than Gohan. This is actually they basically do to him during the Cell arc what they do to Goku during pretty much every arc. Like if you cut out the Cell games and you cut out probably what's the little training parts, he would really only the only thing he would have done that whole arc is kick 20 in the back to save Piccolo. That would have been his whole role. And I guess, participate in the 3 year training. But this is what I'm saying about how the fans always try to claim some character is secondary. They're not a main person. Z is only about whoever the hell. But the story doesn't forebode that if you actually watch it. Literally, Piccolo got more screen time in the Cell arc than Gohan did, unless you count the Cell games, in which case he might slightly have just a little bit more or a little bit less. Because when they have the tournaments now, they can't. We don't get any more good interactions. We just have to sit there and watch people speak at like twice an episode. Oh yeah, he was stupid for using that form, the big buff one. Well, that's actually something I mentioned in the Trunk stream that I didn't like how they have him around Gohan and he's like this younger version of a prior self of him. Basically, I think they really wasted not having the two of them interact that much because the only time we actually see them speak is when Trunks first shows up, like right before, right after he beats Frieza, and when they go to find Cell's larval form. And I'm just thinking to myself, these are the sons of the two last remaining full-blooded Saiyans, and we're not going to have them speak to each other. And like, it was such a waste. Yeah, they mostly put Trunks with Krillin and all these other different people. I think he might actually had more. Like, I think the only character he had less to do with probably would have been Goku out of like all the fighters, which is really pathetic. But yeah, I really hate that people pretend the Cell arc is just this big Gohan spotlight when the only time he actually really gets to be, have sustained interest in terms of being important to the plot is during the last act. Because it's like this: the first half of it, I would say, is probably like dedicated to a foursome of Vegeta, Piccolo, and Krillin, and also Trunks as well, because we see Vegeta and Piccolo have multiple fights, and Gohan is pretty much just nowhere to be seen, just like Goku. No, they should have let Trunks fight. Like he doesn't. He literally has nothing to do between when he excuse me between when he first shows up and when he fights Perfect Form Cell. They pretty much don't let him do anything. Oh, I don't believe in main characters anymore. Because people have all kind of little different ideas of what that term is supposed to mean. I just think I don't get how someone's a main character of a show if other characters get more screen time than them. Like between Piccolo, Krillin, Gohan, and Vegeta, they all get more screen time than Goku and Z at various points for like whole arcs too. But Goku is the main character. We can't have main characters. No, we have to keep claiming that the that he's the main guy, even though he's not. If you actually read and watch the damn show. No, but I was gonna say that even in liking some other person getting the final victory, I would still say it's probably one of the worst transformations ever because I was trying to explain when I did the Krillin stream that his second death uh, was as impactful as it was because it was Goku's best friend, and Goku was not aware that the Namekian Dragon Balls could bring someone back who had died before. So it was basically him dying permanently at that point. That was the way it appeared to him. With Gohan, you watch him basically stand around and feel nothing as his, quote unquote friends are all getting beaten up because he's doing his little weird pacifist crap. Uh, and then he transforms after an android he's never met gets its head smashed in. Oh my God, this android that I have no association with and that has never interacted with me at all. I feel so upset that he has died. For never mind the people I've been aware of for literally years and are supposed to be my friends. No, this android, I'm so concerned about him. There was actually a person who wrote I mean, they won't even mention 16 anymore. After he gets his head stomped in, you don't get one mention of him in the whole story. I know you don't like fighters, Ruben, but well, I don't know if you don't like fighters, but I know you don't like 21. But one of the things I liked was that she at least had 16 do more. Yeah, and they never interact. And all they had to do was have because there's a period between when Cell absorbs 18 and when the tournament starts. They could have just had them interact between there and speak about how their fathers hated each other, referring to Jiro and Goku, and how this was going to now decide in the end of humanity. That's all they had to do to set them up, but they're lazy. Toriyama just wanted to. It was just a really cheap way of getting him powered up. All they had to do was just have it be either someone that he actually cares about that almost dies or appears to have been killed, or just have actually had him interact with 16 beforehand. So I said they because he's off screen for so much, you can't feel anything because of how long he just doesn't interact with anyone, especially anyone that was introduced in that arc. So it's really annoying. Uh, I'd say that the fight between him and Cell is pretty decent. He's just beating him up, smashing him, and smacking him around. And Toriyama, because he can never just have a character win a fight, by getting a power up unless it's a movie. So he has to create some artificial tension. He has to have Cell pretend that he's gonna blow up, or rather, have him appear to be blowing up just to have Goku die unnecessarily. And it was very unnecessary because all he had to do was teleport him to King Kai's planet and teleport right back. That's when you know you have a broken plot, when your characters have the power to easily make something in the plot differently and you just decide to waste it. There goes our interruption. They love doing that. No, no, Ruben, what led to Cell was the editor not liking 19 and 20, and then the editor not liking 17 and 18. That's what led to Cell. So if any of the androids feel wasted, it's because of the editor. Well, that was more so the anime because you can read chapters of the manga in 5 minutes, but the show was trying to pad that fight out like crazy. So that's more so, and really, Ruben, you'll notice they basically use that as an excuse to not stick to time in the real world anymore. So with the Tournament of Power, remember that was what 30 plus episodes, but it was supposed to be 40 minutes. That's what I'm saying. They don't even care. They just I don't even know why they said they should have just said the tournament is as long as it takes for everyone to get knocked out. This planet will explode in 5 minutes. 3 episodes later, this planet will explode in 2 minutes. 30 minutes of 40 minutes, 30 episodes of 40 minutes. And again, Envoy, that's something that like you have these people who say you just hate on Dragon Ball, just to hate on, but they didn't have to do that. They could have just said the tournament is starting in a couple of hours, which is what they said in the actual arc, and and then they would have said there is no time limit. The limit is when everyone has been eliminated, and when there's one man standing. They had no reason to say it was 40 minutes, none whatsoever. That was the most forced. So that's why I said they love screwing up their own story. They didn't need to mention that at all because remember all the other tournaments in the whole series up until then never had a time limit. The Cell games didn't have a time limit. The tournaments from Dragon Ball didn't have a time limit. It's just stupid. It was really dumb. But as I was saying about the Cell arc, uh, him having the father son spirit bomb Kamehameha was really cool. I just think they unnecessarily killed off Goku because, like I said, we know the way his instant transmission works, which is he explains it as he has to have been on the planet to be able to go there or been to that place before and just like think about it basically. So he could have gone right back to Earth after dropping Cell off. He could have brought King Kai with him, but he chose not to because Toriyama wanted to make sure that we forgot or that we didn't remember. Okay, Envoy says if they said it was 40 minutes and it came out to like 3 20-minute episodes of anime, that makes sense. Talking accurate dialogue and whatnot. El Ruben put 40 minutes equals 1,200 minutes. Apparently so, according to these damn anime writers. That was a really stupid idea. Like there was just no reason to have a time, and especially if it's going to be one where the number of episodes just so clearly contradicts it. Imagine the Tournament of Power was only 2 episodes. How rushed and quick everything would have been. But yeah, let me get back to this. So they have the artificial tension. In conclusion, his role in the Cell arc is, I think, very overstated because if you actually watch the Cell arc in its entirety from when uh, you know, Trunks kills Frieza and King Cold to when Gohan defeats Cell, you will notice multiple other characters get more screen time than him, whether that's Krillin or Piccolo or Vegeta. That's why it's really weird when people try to say one of those two is the main character because there's these large parts of the series where someone else that's not one of those two would get focused on. And now, they like to have I call it in hindsight believing that something is not the way it is. Basically, they rewrite what the show actually shows. But yeah, this is where everybody claims that the series was supposed to end, and that Toriyama bought into what the fans wanted by making Gohan not be the main character, which I don't even know what that means anymore. Because if the main character is you're out of the whole arc up until the final fight, I'll take being a supporting one any day of the week. Telling you, the writing formula after the last arc of Dragon Ball just got so ridiculous with Goku. Like apparently Toriyama forgot how to have him still be in the plot without like completely making him do nothing the whole period. He just decided not to have Gohan as the main person. because he just felt in his heart it was the right decision. Like, if you say so. That's why the Boo arc is just like if I crap on it, it's because it just feels more disjointed than the other arcs. And that's because apparently it is. Like through some magical stroke of brilliance, we were able to get, even with all the editors' requests during the Cell arc of, oh, change the villain, add this person. It's still, at most, you might think a character was wasted, but they just, I don't know what was going on with the Boo arc on that long drawn out Boo arc. I told you, boy. Ironically enough, it's the same length for of both the Cell and Frieza. That's why when Kai was doing the adaptation, so when they were making the episodes shorter and more concise, they were really stupid to make the Boo arc be 60 episodes because they that just took out the whole point of even having a Kai version of that. Okay, Ruben says, "Great Saiyan man ruined Gohan." Yeah, but it's not around that much for the plot. Not putting Gohan front and center in the more prominent roles what ruined him. I mean, it's because like during that arc, Toriyama didn't know. Like, I think what it was that he basically had too many characters, and he didn't really know what to do with all of them. So if he wasn't just having them choose to no longer fight like Yamcha or Krillin, he was trying to make excuses for why people who should be weaker than them, like Hercule, were still participating actively in the plot. And I'm just gonna say this: the only two characters who really got any great role from the Buu arc are Hercule and Vegeta. Everybody else, they screw you up. So let's see if we can start this off. I like that they show him in school because it was a really, it was just something that we didn't see in the series up to that point. It felt fresh. The only thing I probably would take away from that is it, in hindsight, it is kind of annoying that you spent all this time with him just for him to have no role in the final battle, which I'll get into that later. Uh, oh, and he's also he's part of the reason why I hate the power scaling past the Cell arc because they say that like when Deborah is turning about to turn Krillin and Piccolo into stone. He mentions how Gohan is stronger than Piccolo, even though Piccolo always trains, and Gohan hasn't trained in 7 years. Like that's stupid to me. That's really dumb. And I'm saying that as someone whose favorite character is Gohan, that it just makes no sense for him to still be stronger than Piccolo if Piccolo trains just as hard, if not as hard as the Saiyans. Like that was just stupid. It was kind of similar to how Goten is stronger than Tien, who's trained for 30 years, while Goten has like done little itty bitty stuff. Just it's stupid. And again, I'm not so big a fan of this stuff that I can't look at the way its plot works against what, because they always try to say, oh, the person who trains, it matters because the Saiyans are training and and then they'll still be weaker than the main character or whoever is perceived to be the main character just because the writer decides so. But even if we're talking like Saiyans, Vegeta trained what just as much as Goku, still can't beat the villain. And it's not because of some good reason. The writers just want to suck off Goku. They want to just have him be the one that beats every villain from now on because they feel like it, not because they have a good reason. Told you all they had to do to make it make sense was just say all the rest of the characters don't train anymore. It would instantly have me have no more gripes about training not mattering. That's all they had to do. But they don't want to do something that's consistent. Yeah, his fight with Deborah is kind of, I don't know, Deborah in general is just a wasted character. Like I know Ruben was saying 16 was wasted, but the king of the demon world, you're gonna have him fight Goku's son, and they're just not even like it's all right. It's not great or anything. And I know he was trying to like he had the spit power that was really. I think they don't use him that much because he breaks the story. Megumi says Vegeta was made to just be second best all the time and get humiliated to make Goku shine even more. Oh yeah. They have him basically just there to kind of play second fiddle. Like he basically took the role that Piccolo and Tien had at different points. And then Megumi says Envoy's on to something, and Envoy says Deborah's design was so epic, he looks so menacing. Yeah, we don't usually get villains that wear clothes. I just realized that. Like out of all of the main villains of Z, after out of all the villains actually of Z that are not Frieza soldiers, how do I explain this? Basically, he looked different from Cell, Frieza, or even Boo, because he actually had like a whole outfit and a goatee. I don't think any of the other villains have facial hair, which is like it might just be him and Mercenary Tao that have facial hair, and that way Toriyama would be forced to actually be a good writer. I don't know why they couldn't have just done with to Goku what they did with Piccolo, where you don't have to remove him from the story, but they had a very credible plot in that he can only be on Earth for a day, and his powers are making the amount of time he can stay on Earth basically be reduced. So they could have had him train other characters in that period, and then it would have made more sense that they could at least keep up a little bit with Boo. Somehow even more than Raditz. But like for just think about this, the the king of the demon world and his whole role in this damn series is be a test to show that Gohan is actually like he couldn't beat super perfect Cell today, in like the 7 year period after the time skip, and to be fodder to show how strong Boo is when he gets turned into a cookie and eaten. That's his whole role. Like the only thing he does that's even remotely important to the plot is turning Piccolo and Krillin into stone. That's what I hate, that I can't even enjoy his character because he turned two of my favorite characters into stones. Like the whole time he's active, they're inactive, basically. Thank God, I know people have problems with like a lot of the new characters and stuff they're doing with the games, but I'm glad at least Xenoverse 2 tried to do some stuff with Deborah. Try to like salvage him a little bit. Because I really think out of all of the non-main villains, he's the most wasted by far. They could have done so much stuff, and he could have had his own minions. Just it was he's really wasted. Nice design, cool voice, cool powers, and he doesn't even get to have a real fight, like a real one-on-one battle to the death. That's not like so tipped in the other person's favor. But anyways, Gohan's fight with him is, it's all right. It's not that bad. I just wish they used that character more. Never had deep stories like that. Yeah, but I'm saying they have a lot of stuff they a lot of characters they could use if they wanted to, and they choose not to. Uh, so he gets, basically taken out by Boo, and pretty much out of the arc for a while. Actually, they never expand their story more than they felt they needed to. I agree. So he gets taken out of the story for a while. We see him again when Goku's in other world and he can't find him, so he realizes he's still alive. We see that's where we meet the elder Supreme Kai, and then we see the Supreme Kai again, and then also Kibito, and Kibito, goes and takes him back to Earth, and that's where he gets after getting his power boost to go confront Boo. And this is literally the last time in the whole series where he actually does anything cool. He goes up to Boo and says the "fight you, I want to kill you" line. He's like, basically just blowing them all over the place, knocking them out. And really, this would have been a perfect place for the arc to end, in my opinion, because Boo has, just from what I've seen, the most forms I think of any villain in Z. I know Frieza obviously gets another form after Z with the Resurrection F movie, but I don't think the arc would feel as dragged out if it ended with Gohan gets his power up after being knocked out for a while in training. Now he's going to defeat Boo, and that's going to, be the conclusion of the manga. Okay, Ruben says Goku staying dead would have been development for all the other characters by having them save the world by themselves for once. Well, I had said before that in my perfect world, the Kid Buu fight would have been the Spirit Bomb failing again, and then they used the final wish to bring Gohan, Piccolo, Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, the androids, Goten, and Trunks to that planet they were on, and just all of them just blow up Kid Buu together. I thought that would have been a way better ending than let's have Goku and Vegeta throw a ball around and get beat up for a little bit. And you actually do have some fans who try to argue that uh, that fight was cool or that ending was good because everyone participated. It's like no, they didn't. All they did was hold their hands up in one panel. That's their participation. Like when Gohan's role in the final battle of Z has been reduced to that of basically any of the non-powered human character, not even like Tien or anything, but like when his mother has as big of a role in taking down Kid Buu as him, that's when you know you're not using that character effectively or really in any meaningful way. No, they always can justify the worst parts of this series. They love doing that. Mr. Satan was just loved that much. Lame. Like I said, Satan is he is a the only character other than Vegeta who the Buu arc actually redeems or makes have something have their character grow in a way that actually is beneficial to them. Because without the Buu arc, he would just be the guy that showed up at the Cell games and basically was the Toriyama's excuse for why people weren't showing up at Gohan's house every 10 seconds to ask how strong he was. By the way, I love that they actually have a plot hole where everybody knows that it was Goku that beat King Piccolo, but for whatever reason they don't like they basically stop asking him about that victory during Z for like no reason, just because that was the biggest threat the world had seen up to that point. He defeated him, and then they just forgot this guy that was gonna have like I know a lot of people haven't seen the King Piccolo arc, but he was gonna have them people getting murdered on the anniversary of the day that he took power for 40 years if Goku didn't stop him, and they don't just nothing. That never gets acknowledged by any of the regular human care and nothing. Just completely ignored. Really, really a great showing of continuity. Somebody saves the world, and then not even 10 or 20 years later, we all forgot about it. Now, in the Buu arc, the only thing that Gohan does that's cool is beat up Buu. And because Toriyama can't just let, he's got like the biggest hard on for making the character have to struggle for their victory. Like where it doesn't even feel organic anymore. He has to give Buu a new transformation where he absorbs Gotenks and Trunks, Gotenks and Trunks, Gotenks and Piccolo, uh, and then have him just beat him up until Goku shows up. The only good thing that came out of that part was it at least gave Tien one thing to do in that arc. I just think that's funny. Yamcha's in more of it, but Tien does more by using his attack on Super Buu. That's really crazy. I always forget about his role in that arc. He literally is the last surviving human other than Shiatsu and Hercule. Crazy as hell. No, but they have him lose, and then you would think. See, this is why I don't. This series is so frustrating. Toriyama wrote it to where Gotenks can't stay fused for longer than what was it, 15 minutes. So when the form diffuses, we actually get to see this where Super Buu is just wearing Piccolo's cape, and Gohan is then apparently able to defeat Super Buu. They should have just had that be the ending where they're having like a beam struggle. Uh, Gotenks absorbs Super Buu versus Gohan, and then the fusion of Gotenks stops, and then that's when he kills him with the blast, and he revives Piccolo and the kids after that with the Dragon Balls. Would have been a way better ending. At least with how they had written the story up to that point. But whatever, we have to always have a struggle for no reason. So he gets saved by Goku and then absorbed by Super Buu, and we get the ending with Kid Buu, and it's just, oh my god, you could tell Toriyama just didn't care anymore when he got to that arc, because he's never had an arc before or since where he just kills off everybody. I still can't believe Z actually does that, where the last arc just kills everyone. I am glad that Super seems to kind of have gone in the direction I prefer, which is that they don't really let any of the main cast die anymore, and that's how GT was going, because it's like they've realized that the deaths don't mean anything, so they've pretty much stopped altogether. Because in GT, I think the only two characters that actually died were what, Piccolo and Krillin, out of the good guys, of course. So I'm glad that's one thing they've. I know Megumi knows I'm not that big a GT fan, but that's one thing I'm glad they stopped bothering with. Even though if you're gonna kill somebody off, I would like for that character to at least get some more screen time. But that's too much to ask from the series. But yeah, for the 17 killed Krillin. Yeah, I remember. And you know what, Ruben? They do the same thing that those clowns get on my nerves for about these other arcs, where they're like, 18 was a main character of the Super 17 saga. No, she wasn't. All she did was meet her brother one time and almost get killed during that meeting, and then show up all the way at the end of Goku's fight with Super 17. She's in that whole arc for like 2 scenes, and you're gonna tell me that she's a main character? Get out of here. I don't know why they kept her. Well, we know why it's Goku time, but they should have had her in more of that arc if they were gonna try to make this about the grand old return of the androids. The Super 17 arc's really frustrating because there was so much stuff they could have done that they decided not to. Yeah, 17 versus Super 17. And then Megumi says, haha, poor Krillin. He's actually died the most of any character in the series, which is really annoying. Because Xiaotu doesn't die in GT, so he has more deaths than him. It was him and Xiaotu who died the most in the manga. They were both tied at 3 times. That's why I said deaths after the second time are just unnecessary. That's why they haven't killed Goku off since the Cell arc. Really shouldn't have killed him off there either, but whatever. I don't write the show. Or if they did kill him off, that's what should have made Gohan turn Super Saiyan 2. Because it's so frustrating when a story has these different beats that you can kind of wolf together to make more sense than we actually got. We had never seen Gohan and Goku together for a sustained period until the Cell arc, and particularly their training in the hyperbolic time chamber. So they could have shown Gohan and Goku to have developed a better relationship with each other, or a more um, closer one while they were in the chamber together. And then when Gohan's getting beat up by Cell, Goku tries to intervene, and that's when he gets killed by Cell, and that's when Gohan turns Super Saiyan 2. Would have been way better. And then instead of just having Vegeta be the only one that actually does anything that matters, uh, they could have had it to where Gohan is like getting overpowered by Cell, seemingly, and then that's when the rest of the characters just all pile their beams on him together, like merge all their beams in one, just blast them in the back, and he gets distracted by that. And oh, it would have been so just. You get the point, because then all the characters have actually done something. But it's the Saiyans show, so we have to keep treading those waters. I'm basically asking them to kind of do for like with the Cell arc for Gohan what they did for Vegeta, where he gets like so mad that Trunks gets killed, which kind of still technically makes no sense because he had treated Trunks like trash up to that point. Yeah, the Saiyan show and you ain't in it. Oh, wait till we get to the Vegeta stream. That'll be that's the funniest thing in the world to like be a main character longer than probably anybody else, and then you still can't beat the main villain for one arc ever. But yeah, the epilogue for Z, that's where we first see Pan and we see that Gohan and Videl are married. And I'm not someone who's trying to be a romantic writer connoisseur or critic, but they use her so little in the Boo arc after Boo shows up, and we don't see her interact with Gohan for the rest of that arc. And that's why I said Toriyama gets on my nerves with that, where he doesn't really develop any of these romances, but he tries to hide behind these time skips to say that someone has like fallen in love and all that. Because he did the same thing with Krillin and 18. He did the same thing with Vegeta and Bulma. He did the same thing with Goku and Chi-Chi. And the only one of those that was slightly believable was Krillin and 18. The other two, just no, I don't buy it. Toriyama and Toei suddenly turned Vegeta into a good guy at the last minute. I wouldn't say that because he did have development. I just wish that they didn't. Like I said, him in the Cell arc is pretty much as radical as the one in the Freeze arc, and they basically want us to believe that he's been sitting on Earth for 7 years without Goku, just living the life and whatnot. I think it would have been actually way more tragic for his character if we found out he like completely abandoned all of Earth and just went training in space somewhere, like didn't even want to deal with anyone on that planet anymore. And then after coming back to Earth, when he finds out Goku is there, that's where he's got like all these regrets about not being with his kid and all that. I don't know. I think that would have been an interesting route to go. But unlike the other suggestions I've given, I don't think it would have made the story better. I'm just saying that I think based off of what we knew about his character would have made more sense for him to do that. And it's hard for me to believe that just for 7 years he just trains just cause. Whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm the crazy person and Toriyama's very brilliant. He's the one with the millions of dollars earning franchise after all. Um if you want to do, what should we start with first? Just Super or GT? I think maybe GT is better to cover because it's quicker or was over sooner. So they do nothing with him in the really in that whole series up until the baby arc. I think he only has maybe two times he gets any focus in that show. It's when Goten is infected by baby and when Piccolo dies. And other than that, he's just like background fodder material with almost no role in the whole show, which they pretty much did to everybody other than Goku and Pan. Because even Trunks, a lot of people will mistake Trunks as being a main character of GT as a whole. He's only important for the first arc. Like when they get to Earth, he just vanishes. He gets nothing to do after the baby saga, which is really insane to think about. Because I saw that as them trying to basically do more with the present version of Trunks. Really, he was only included because they didn't want to use future Trunks. And they just completely ignore him after they get back to Earth. No, but the fight between Gohan and Goten was pretty decent. I just wish they would have done more with his character up until that point, because he pretty much is just there to get infected, be another random goon for Baby, and then power up Goku after he gets turned back to normal. So he's wasted in that arc along with probably damn every other character. Like Oob got wasted because he was supposed to, be Goku's guy that he trained for years, and all he does is get a new form and get defeated. He does contribute to Baby losing, but it still is like, really, you're just gonna take him out of the story for all these episodes? It's so lame. Now Megumi's gonna be quiet for this part because he doesn't want to hear about GT getting. I'm not trying to trash. I'm just saying that they could have certain characters they could have done stuff with, but they chose not to. I guess I'm not too upset at his role in Super 17 because he didn't have any association with 17. Probably the only character I would have really liked to have seen fight that version of him is Piccolo, because there was the Piccolo 17 fight from Z, so it would have been nice to see him try again. Yeah, my chat got really bored. They were like, "Man, no, I don't want to talk about GT." And then with the Shadow Dragons, uh, I mentioned before that it would have been way cooler if instead of having Goku and Pan just one by one find these things, they had each member of the cast fight one of the dragons. I'm not even trying to hate on them. I'm just saying that for Gohan's particular character, I think there's a lot of missed opportunities. Like they even messed up the scene where he's like really sad because Piccolo died, where they only played clips from GT where the two of them didn't even interact with each other. No, that's not even a fault of the writing. That's just a fault of the editors. Like as Piccolo's talking about how Gohan has grown up, they literally only play the clip of the one time they were on screen together, and it wasn't even Gohan. It was Piccolo and baby Gohan, so baby possessing Gohan. It's like you've grown so much. Let me show the one scene from the show where we were on screen together. It's like, who the hell thought that was a good idea? I mean, hey, I'll say it again. At least GT didn't take two movies and stretch them out and make them look uglier. Like, look, the Term of the Power looks good, but those first two arcs of Super look horrendous. They look like a rushed mess that a studio popped out. My God. So I can still give Super credit where it deserves it. Like, not Super, but GT rather. Like I said, I'm not so much a fan of any of these shows. I'm gonna pretend like one is completely bad or one is completely good. But yeah, the Shadow Dragon stuff would have been cool to see one of them. And again, I just it's really sad that like Gohan's whole role in that show is pretty much to just play cannon fodder, which is kind of his role in Super as well, up until maybe the Tournament of Power. But we'll get into that later. So overall, I'd say in GT, he's probably like he's treated better than most of the Saiyans. Like basically, of all the characters, I'd say outside of Goku, Pan, Trunks, Vegeta, and Oob, they use him the most effectively. So he gets a better treatment than most, but it's still just I don't think is that good. But you know, whatever. I mean, that show didn't exactly set out with the purpose of making him the main person or anything. So I'm not going to get too upset. And at least they didn't give him a horrendous design like they gave Trunks and Goten. Everybody was talking about GT had nothing to do with Toriyama. Toriyama designed the characters for that show, and so if you don't like a design from there, you know who to blame. I don't know why the hell they gave Goten that. Someone said it looks like they were trying to give him Gohan's style, but they flipped it on the side. Like they wanted to have it be similar to Goku, but without the pieces hanging out at the back. They couldn't make up their mind. Yeah, it seems like every direction for that character is to basically resent looking like his dad when he gets older, which is kind of lame, but whatever. Like I said, Goten is just a waste who has just no reason to even exist. But we get into him later at some other point. For Super, I mean, we could just talk about the Battle of Gods and Resurrection F movies. Basically, the only thing Gohan does between both of those films is help Goku turn the Super Saiyan God, which is kind of okay, and serve as cannon fodder for Beerus and for Frieza's forces until Goku shows up. So that's the full extent of his role. And I guess I could say Battle of Gods treat him a little bit better, but they still like the only character in that movie that's not Goku that they really let stand out as a fighter is Vegeta, and I guess maybe Gotenks. Oh yeah, Pan. I can't pronounce that. Ruben, I know that his design's a ripoff, but remember his whole character, along with Trunks, are just a poor man's version of Kid Goku and Future Trunks. The bootleg Kid Goku and Future Trunks is what we should call them. That's all they are. They still do more with Trunks actually than so with Kid Trunks than they do with Goten, because they in the Buu arc they let Trunks win the tournament. They give him a movie, the Wrath of Dragon film. He has that relationship with the guy with the sword Tapion. They let him do some things during the Future Trunks arc where he gets to interact with himself a little bit, his older self. So they do let him have a couple of unique things from Goten. So he always has felt more like his own character than Goten has. So yeah, that's the full extent of Gohan's role. And I will say, people were like, "Oh man, what about that scene from the Resurrection F arc where Piccolo sacrifices himself for Gohan?" I'm like, "What about that scene? It means nothing because he gets brought back right after dying. So why even include that in the first place?" That's why I said I'm sick of these. Like they just love killing off the same people over and over. I just realized that Piccolo has died 4 times. Jesus Christ. Died twice in Z, died once in Super. And I blame Super because Resurrection F didn't have that in there. And then died once in GT as well. They really bring Krillin and Piccolo back in GT just to kill them off. That's really pathetic. Crazy as hell. What else was I gonna say? Okay, for the Future Trunks arc, they in the manga he's not there at all, which I mean I'm okay with. He doesn't really have a big role in the arc anyway, but in the show, they give him the one episode where he and Trunks hang out, get some ice cream. It's actually not even an episode, it's like a scene in an episode. And then all the way at the end, they have him show up and wave bye to Trunks. And again, like I said, I when I watch that arc, like rewatch it, I always hate to be reminded of how they wasted the Gohan and Future Trunks dynamic, where they just don't let them interact with each other in either the Cell arc or in the Future Trunks arc. Just they just have him surrounded by Vegeta or Goku. It's really lame. And those things are going by quicker. It's supposed to show how Gohan's character after the Buu arc is just so constantly shoved into the back burner. Oh, I forgot about the Universe 6 tournament where all he does is what stand in the background and watch his dad fight. That's how minor his role in this show is after the Buu arc. I literally forgot the whole arc because he doesn't even do anything in there. Isn't that right, Ruben? I think out of like all of Super, he's probably in maybe 40 episodes or something. They don't use him at all until the tournament. Speaking of tournament, let's talk about it. So, um, when that poster came out, I got a little excited because they had 17 on there, they had Boo on there. It looked like we were actually going to see some of these characters get used more. That exhibition tournament got me so excited for the Tournament of Power because Up to that point, we hadn't seen Gohan or Boo fight in Super, other than when, how to explain this? They didn't fight against anyone that wasn't just like a random grunt. In Gohan's case, and in Boo's case, all he did up to that point was just get smacked around by Beerus. So it was nice to see the two of them actually get to have a fight. No, Gohan's fight against, what was that? I forgot that guy's name. You know, the fox from what was it, Universe 9? It was pretty cool because he got the poison in his eyes, and then it was a tie because they were both. I haven't seen it in a couple of years. I need to go rewatch it. But see, it was moments like that where I didn't dislike Super because it was actually giving other characters something to do, like to play some active role. And it was really crazy because it seemed like, if you rewatch the earlier parts of the tournament, it really feels like it's setting itself up to be this major comeback for Gohan, because he's with Goku more than any other character. Like Vegeta was almost not even present in that first half of the tournament, like up until they were getting ready to go to the tournament with Frieza being recruited. Vegeta had a really minor role, and I was surprised by it too because I was so used to him being treated as the only other character that mattered. So it was pretty cool to see him getting a little bit of focus, because I think that was his first actual fight against a named villain who, where it's like not just, oh, he gets punched and knocked out once, since Super Boo. Again, if you don't count GT, because they like to say that GT and Super are in different continuities. So it was a cool fight. I thought it was going to set Gohan up to actually do something during the tournament. They have an episode before the tournament where it's Gohan and Piccolo, and it's kind of like this adult version of their dynamic during the Saiyan arc, and it's probably in my top three favorite episodes of Super. Um, I don't know, I don't have episodes of that show usually make me like it ever. Like there was episode 56, which is the one where uh, Goku, Vegeta, and Trunks go to the past. It's the one that ends with Vegeta getting stabbed through the chest by Goku Black when he turns Super Saiyan Rose. And I really like that episode. It's my favorite of the Future Trunks arc. Um, there's also the two episodes with Goku and Krillin, which I thought were going to set Krillin up to actually, be a major character when stuff was starting up, and it turns out that was not the case because, as we all know, he's the first one from Universe 7 to get eliminated, which is lame as all hell, but whatever. Yeah, they really tricked me. I'm telling you, Toriyama's good at basically fooling people, and not in a good way. Because they had the one episode where it was Gohan, Piccolo, Goku, and Tien all training together. And I was like, oh my god, the Piccolo's gonna have some new technique, and Tien's gonna have some technique, and Gohan's gonna have some new level of strength. Oh my god! Actually, for the thumbnail, I used a picture of, so there was this really stupid idea, and it was dumb, that for some reason Gohan was gonna get Super Saiyan Rose. I don't know who even thought that makes any kind of sense or why that would even be a thing, but I just like the way that picture looks, so I used it because it just didn't make any sense to me. Why would he get this power up that we don't even know how to obtain? The only character that ever got it is evil. It's just weird. So it says something is wrong with these fans. They just come up with stuff and don't even care. They're like, yeah, this person's gonna get this form because I said so. No, but his role in the actual tournament is pretty frustrating because he's built up to be the team leader. And then the first thing that half of the team does is basically tell him to go screw himself. And then, ironically enough, the show reinforces that their way of thinking of, we're just going to go fight on our own, uh, is the right way in a arc about teamwork, by having like that whole group that disobeys Gohan, which is the androids, Frieza, Vegeta, and Goku. They all end up surviving past the ones that obeyed him or that stayed with his order. I think it would have been a hell of a twist if Vegeta got knocked out early or Goku got knocked out early. That would have been, and then the final battle would have been Jiren versus like all of Universe 7 except those two because they all had to team up to even stand toe to toe with them. Because look, no one's gonna trick me into thinking that like you can make the argument that Frieza's stronger than Gohan, but I don't believe 17 is stronger than him. At least I don't believe that it makes any sense that 17 would be stronger than them. And we've already been over how 17 is the one character who just completely broke the rules of this series. Every time I see people saying it's over for Piccolo and Gohan and Krillin and Tien, and then the same group is okay with Frieza and 17, characters who were both weaker than first form Cell, being able to magically get strong. Okay, told you this is the series of contradictions and hypocrisy and lies and all. They don't even care. They're just so transparently incorrect. That's how they roll. They tell you something and then you actually watch the show and you're like, I don't think that's the case. Yeah, they don't really. I think the only maybe there's a lot of stuff to take away from this. I like the one episode where Gohan and Piccolo team up to take out Universe Six's Namekians, which there was actually someone had a really cool idea where he Piccolo would fuse with Universe Six's Namekians so that their universe wouldn't get erased, even if all their other fighters got taken out. That would have been really cool, in my opinion. But that's how, and then they could like operate on the like they could lie and say, "Oh, we they can't unfuse from me, so I guess you just can't erase Universe Six since I am part of Universe Six and Seven." That would have been a nice way. That would have had continuity with what we know about Piccolo, which is that he confused multiple people, and that could have been the reason why he got stronger, or that could have been an explanation for him being more powerful. It's funny because I was always wondering, like, what if the other characters got to fight any of Universe Six's people from the ones that were in the Universe Six tournament, like Potamo, and like Gohan has the most briefest exchange with him. It's not even funny. They just completely just not even a minute of the two of them fighting. It's so lame. Oh, and then the episode where he gets rid of Universe 10. Uh, I think that was pretty good too because it was trying to like they were trying to basically parallel him with the fighter from that universe by saying, "Oh, they both are family men, and they're doing this to save their families." And blah, 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 blah. So that was a nice little touch. And then I also like the him being part of the group that takes out that what was that thing called? Let me see. Anilaza, yeah, that alien, the one where they all fuse into one being, and then after they take that thing out, that's when Universe 7 and what was it, 11 are the last ones left. So Goku and Jiren's universes are the last ones remaining after that thing is taken. Oh, they really wasted him during that crap. Like I was just thinking to myself, their way of taking out Gohan is not to have him, because I said before, I would have really liked if the final battle, like if you had to pick two characters that were going to go against each other, was Gohan versus Topo, because Topo actually was a more active presence during the tournament. Um, and he just had more personality. And so it would have been nice if Jiren got taken out by, let's say, like a combined threesome of Goku and Vegeta and 17, and then Gohan took out Topo, and then he was the winner of the tournament. Him or Frieza, could have been either one. No, but he's just another. He didn't get as wasted as a lot of the other characters. Like I'd say, he has the best role in that arc of anyone from Universe 7 that's not Goku, Vegeta, Frieza, or 17. But I still think they could have done more with him. But it is what it is. The series loves to do that. So instead of having him and 17 team up and take out Topo, we instead have him and Frieza team up and take out Dispo, who is the weakest, indisputably, out of the last three from Universe 11. And I was really disappointed by that for that reason. I'm probably the only one that thought that the term of the power. They wasted so many characters. Like Hit got they threw Hit in the trash for the little team up of Kale and Khalifa. Just changed his damn hair. Yeah, Envoy, where did you go? I've been waiting for you to write another comment. I don't know if you were agreeing with what I was saying or anything. It's just so lazy. Even Trunks looked nothing like Vegeta with the hair and eye color. No, Trunks looks more like Bulma than Vegeta. The only thing they have in common is the skin tone. No, Trunks had a very unique design. I'd say probably out of all of the children of characters we've seen in the whole series, he probably has the most unique design of any of them. Because I remember one of the things Gohan had that the animators made sure to include was that he was lighter than Goku was. He had Chi-Chi's skin tone. So they were trying to make him kind of resemble his mother more in a sense than his father. A lot of the material at this point kind of ignores that because they don't like to focus on little subtle details like that. Now we have to rip off Goku even more. Do you recommend I watch Super even though I'm not so into it? I would say if you're gonna watch it, watch Battle of Gods and Resurrection F. Do not waste your time with those retelling arcs because outside of one or two episodes, they're really not that good at all. Uh, and then watch the Tournament of Power and the what do you call it? The arcs after that. Oh yeah, Gohan had all kind of different designs. I really think my favorite design for him would have been when he had the longer hair because it just we don't usually get male characters with longer hair that are main characters ever in shonen. Like it was really unique. Like him and Yamcha were probably the only instances of a male character having longer hair, and not even just in Dragon Ball, but just in in any of these mediums. I think he should have kept it. It would have just made him look more distinct. But apparently, only Yamcha can have long hair when he's an adult. They do like to give him the same hairstyles as Yamcha. They like to recycle him because him as an adult looks just like Yamcha from the Cell arc with the little upcut one. I don't know his hairstyle during the Cell arc after he comes out the time chamber is really cool too. They should have just used that as his hairstyle for going forward because it was distinct and it didn't look like Goku. I don't know why they didn't use that. So yeah, Gohan's role in Super I think is better than his role in GT because they do try to use him during the Tournament of Power. I just think they gave us a really like we didn't get a story that really made that much sense where he's talking about this big comeback and the only thing he really gets to do is take out the third strongest guy on Universe 11's team. Is it Universe 11 or 12? Let me see. I want to make sure I'm saying the correct thing. Okay, yeah. It is. No, they should have had if they're not going to have him win the tournament, it should have been him who took out Topo, and then they could have had Goku, Vegeta, and 17 fight Jiren, and then have Vegeta and Goku take out Jiren, and then Frieza could have taken out Dispo by himself. That would have kept the ending intact, and I would not be as frustrated with what they did with Gohan character. Where he like they literally waste him on the third weakest on the weakest guy. But whatever. They don't want to pay any attention to what I'm saying, so they can have their show. Mm. I guess we should talk about the moral arc, even though that's not currently over. So I'd say they've probably used him the best in that tournament. Not that I feel stupid. They've used him the best other than that tournament I was referring to. Oh, indisputably Cell games. Like so him as a kid is just way better than as an adult. Like not even just in design, but usage in the story. They've wasted him as an adult. They need to do like GT and have him turn into a kid again. Maybe then he can get some focus. But yeah, like I was saying, they give him a pretty cool fight with 7-3, which is basically the bootleg version of Hit that's on Moro's group. Um, they let him train again, but remember, training is a waste of time in Dragon Ball unless your name is Goku. So he gets a second fight with 7-3, where it's him and Piccolo fighting him that time, and they have a little clever strategy where they let 7-3 touch them, and it doesn't matter because they're teaming up on him anyway. Like I said, they really whenever there's a cool idea, it's not either given enough time to go. Now it's not your boy Hit, it's his his doppelganger. Like look up 7-3 on the Dragon Ball wiki, you know what I'm talking about. They are so lazy. They just took his design, gave it a few marks on the forehead, and called a new villain. Anyways, we're getting a new chapter tomorrow for Super, and it looks like it's going to be more Goku suck off fest. I know Gohan's in it, but he doesn't do anything. Um, again, I still would say that this arc has used him in a more redeeming way than any arc of Super, other than the universe, than the Tournament of Power. Because before that, he was almost a non-entity in Super. I don't know. For some reason, they're now treating him kind of like how they treat Goten, where well, why would we use you when we can just use Goku? And it's really sad because I think with over 100 episodes available, they could have made that a show about multiple characters, but they just don't want to use them. Hell, I would say no, I'm not going to say that because I was going to say Trunks had more to do, even though his arc was only not even half as long as the Tournament of Power altogether. But I'm not going to go in that direction. I think they gave Gohan a pretty decent role in that arc, even if I think they should have done more with them. It is what it is. So yeah, other than fighting 7-3 and doing some more off-screen training, I think that's pretty much his whole role. Like I would say he's gotten the best of any of the characters from, like the supposed main characters that aren't Goku, Vegeta, or Piccolo, which is why I kept saying that people need to stop saying there's only one main character, but whatever. It certainly wasn't that way for Z. Told you, I came to the conclusion that that for Dragon Ball the main character was Goku, like just by himself, and then you could make the case for Krillin or Tien being the secondary main person at different points of the series. But with Z, it's the same four people getting more screen time than Goku. Like literally every arc except the Buu arc, Gohan gets more screen time than Goku. But somehow Goku was the main character. Krillin got more screen time than him in both the Cell and Frieza arc, and uh, about as much in the Saiyan arc as well. Piccolo got more in the Buu arc and in the Cell arc, and about as much in the Saiyan arc. Vegeta got about as much in the Saiyan arc, definitely more in both the Frieza and Cell arc, and probably less in the Buu arc. But you get the point. It's like it's always those same four characters who get just as much, if not more, to do than Goku. Oh, also during the Tournament of Power, I did like at the end of it when Frieza gets rejuvenated, like brought back to life. They mention how he might pose a threat to the world again, and they make um, a distinction to show Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Krillin, and Gohan reacting to that, like standing together. And they did that because of in reference to the Frieza arc. Like they know how evil he is. Oh my god. All right, so if anyone has anything left to say, you can do it. I was thinking we were gonna be at 2 hours before I was finished because he has such a large role in the series. But I forgot that when you get past Z, it's really small, except for the term of the power. Like I know people hate that arc in some cases. I will just say it's the one thing I like about it's the only arc of anything post Z where Gohan actually gets to do something remotely important. It looks like the moral arc is treading that direction as well. I do kind of want to hold off on the Vegeta stream because it is possible that he might be the one that takes out Moro. I don't think he will, but we do have maybe like 2 or 3 more chapters of that arc left. So I don't want to like delay that, but at the same time, I do want to see what happens after the next few chapters. Nothing really very informative stream about Gohan. I'm glad we didn't get interrupted this time. I'm glad they decided to not ask me to cut up a box again. People are so damn lazy. Why do you need me to do that? Like I have special scissor powers or something. The first thing that happened after that stream ended last week was that the person asked me, "Do you have a knife?" Like right after I walked out of this room, I was like, "Why would I just randomly have a knife?" That's why I said people are just complete buffoons, man. Well, there was one interruption, but it wasn't like because the reason I ended this when I did it this past week was because the person asked me to do something and they didn't really give a definitive time of when. If I say, "Hey, can you, I don't know, take this outside?" I can maybe have that done in like 2 minutes, but you're not specifying when I can see this is finished. So yeah, let me also wrap this up by saying this. For GT, I would say the main characters are Goku and Pan, because again, Trunks really has no role in that show after the baby arc. And for the original series, I think they really use Krillin consistently, except for the King Piccolo arc. So I'd say like if you're gonna call anybody, because see that's so different from this because in Z there's no arc where it's just Goku. It's always other characters doing more. So it's hard for me to really believe people when they go, "This is Goku story." Envoy, this is Goku story. You can't complain that another character didn't get as much as they should have. This is the story of Goku. That's why Krillin got more screen time than him in like half of the arcs of these. And Vegeta did too, and Gohan did too, and Piccolo did too. I love how whenever you try to say Piccolo had more screen time than Goku, they always point to the Freeze arc, and I'm like, we could point to the Boo arc as the counter example of that. Because I've seen some people who try to say that Vegeta is a main character of Z. Like they just try to say it's about Vegeta, Gohan, and Goku. I'm like, but why do other characters get more screen time than them? Hell, I think Trunks was getting more screen time in the Cell arc too, than definitely more than Goku and Gohan. So if you want to say it's about those six, I'll concede to that as well. But just the whole overall thing, I'd say it's those five. And then for Super, the main characters are Goku, Vegeta, and then maybe Beerus and Whis. Like I think for the universe determinant of power, the main characters of that arc are like from Universe 7 are Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Frieza, and 17, and then maybe Piccolo. And where did Envoy go? Just vanished. Hey, Megumi, would you agree with that? That the main characters of GT are Goku and Pan? Because like the rest of them don't do anything except have like one scene or something. Except Trunks, but like I said, they act like he doesn't even exist after the baby arc. They treat him. It's so crazy. They treat him like they treat the rest of the Saiyans after that arc is over. Like when he shows up on Earth, that's the end of him being part of the main group. So I don't know if you agree with that or not. Megumi probably already logged off. Ruben, do you have any final comments, thoughts, theories? Because I know you were saying that Goten's design. Your last comment was that his design was just a ripoff of Kid Goku, which I agree with. Like the only thing they changed up was they gave him different shoes and a long sleeve shirt. I've never seen a series like even I don't like Boruto, but at the very least, they did try to make his design different from Naruto. For some reason in Naruto, you're not allowed to have characters that look like both parents. So you get the son that looks like the dad, the daughter looks like the mother, because people are lazy as hell. Mm. All right, let me know what else you guys have to say, because I want to make sure that there are no final comments, questions, theories, thoughts, concerns, speculations, or beliefs. He had a really solid role in Z, a very limited one in GT, and a very limited one in Super outside of the Tournament of Power. And again, it's just I don't understand that. They're weird. Because if I'm right, if I got 100 episodes to work with, I can make sure people have something to do. So if it looks like we're not going to get any more comments, everybody's keyboard froze. Thank you for checking us out. I appreciate it, and I'll see about doing Vegeta probably maybe if it's not in this week, then it might be next month. But again, I have other characters I want to go over: Goten and Trunks and the androids. And Boo, obviously, because that's been getting on my nerves for a long time. So we'll have other discussions about this, about characters from the series, because there's a lot of people who have been pretty much wasted. Hell, I could actually probably do all the androids together, except for 17 and 18. I want to do them like as a not a couple, but as a pairing, like with Goten and Trunks. I think that would be enough material for a stream. And I guess maybe theoretically I could do the villains as well, like Frieza. So there will be other stuff in the way, because I just want to see if they actually let Vegeta beat Moro, or if this is all a little scam joke con game that they're playing. That's the saddest part about Toriyama's writing, where he'll set something up to look a certain way and then it will get subverted, and it's not even like a good subversion. It'll just be because I feel like it. Like, oh, 17 was weaker than first form Cell. Why is he so much stronger? Because I feel like it. So they love doing little stuff like that. But again, I appreciate what Gohan did for the series, because as I mentioned at the beginning of this, I'm so tired of reading American comics where nothing ever changes outside of a new villain. So that was something very unique. Having on the supposed main character have a kid, and one that actually does something for the plot, and who ends up quickly getting more screen time than his dad at for one point or another. So it was cool. Thanks for watching. And if you have any requests, you can write them in the comments section. So with that being said, have a good Saturday. Excuse me, Sunday. You can tell that's how disoriented I am, because I was like, I got to do this today. I got to try it too. I'm glad we didn't get a second ridiculous interruption. because that's obviously annoying. And I don't know, it was so perfect this last week, but this was pretty good too. I liked it. So thank you, and have a good day.